Los Angeles District Attorney Nathan Hochman set to hold a press conference any moment as we find out who Nick Reiner's criminal defense attorney is, and also find out why he is unable to be in court. And it is day to day as to when he will be allowed to face a judge.
Welcome to the global phenomenon, Surviving the Survivor. Here's your host, Emmy Award-winning journalist, Joel Waldman.
What's up, STS Nation? Welcome to Surviving the Survivor. It is the global phenomenon that brings you the very best guests in all of true crime, and it is turning out to be a very busy news day. At the outset, thought it would be quiet, not to be, as we are leading up. We are in the holiday of Hanukkah, the Jewish holiday of Hanukkah, Christmas, I believe next week already, New Year's, and the world seems to have turned upside down. Literally down under with a terror attack here, Brown University, and then the weekend capped off with this just horrific double homicide out of Los Angeles. We are awaiting a press conference with Los Angeles District Attorney Nathan Hochman. Joining me to help break it down, the intrepid criminal defense attorney John Day is with us out of Santa Fe, New Mexico. What's up, John? How are you?
Joel, good to see you.
Good to see you as well. So let me bring this up, or Spacey. I'll pop this up right here. I think we're good. This is a live look at Nathan Hochman's press conference. The district attorney, we've seen him before, most notably, especially in reference to a double homicide with Lyle and Eric Menendez, who are looking for a new court hearing at the time, looking possibly for an early release from prison. All of that is still happening. And what is happening right now is Nick Reiner is obviously the prime suspect. LAPD say he is now the man who committed these crimes, and the district attorney and the LAPD clearly working together. John Day, as Nathan Hochman's coming out right now, but what are you expecting we hear during this press conference?
You know, tying up a lot of loose ends, answering a lot of questions. It's been such a weird scene from the prosecutorial and law enforcement standpoint up to this point, with, you know, information coming from multiple sources. You had that bizarre press conference the other night by a deputy chief of the LAPD that still has a lot of people shaking their heads. And so this may be sort of the adults in the room situation, where we get a lot of information that answers questions, because it's been a little strange up to this point, Joel.
Yeah, it's been odd. We are finding out today that Alan Jackson of Karen Reed infamy will be the criminal defense attorney for Nick Reiner. John, this is going to obviously have a circus-like atmosphere just because of the nature of the crimes, who they were committed against, where they were committed. It's a perfect storm. You've got a comedic legend. The son kills, is presumed to have killed Rob Reiner and wife Michele Singer Reiner. It happens a block away from where the O.J. Simpson murders happened. I mean, this is really a perfect storm from a media perspective. And now you throw into the mix Alan Jackson, who, was well known prior to Karen Reed, but really catapulted after Karen Reed. How does he fit into the equation here? I assume he is going to, it's sort of a media frenzy now on steroids with him.
Yeah, I think that's an understatement. But he's got a track record. I mean, you can't argue with that. I mean, Karen Reed, Weinstein, there's a long list of people that he has represented and represented them well. This guy is good. And so you sort of have to wonder how the connection was made. Did he just say, I'm stepping in, I'm going to represent the son here? But it's, this is a guy who, his level of competence, expertise, skill with the media is certainly going to match the media frenzy that we are going to see throughout this case.
Yeah, Cammie Day, member for 11 months, saying nice last name, John, from John Day. Yeah, it is. Wish my last name was Day. Also, of note, John, what we're hearing, this is the latest news. And by the way, we're coming back to tonight at 7 o'clock for a full Rob Reiner and Michele Reiner recap and what the latest is with their son, Nick. And on that program, Josh Ritter's hopping on, Dr. Detective Troy Looney, and we have a former lieutenant within the LAPD who worked under Commissioner Bratton. So that's a very, very powerful show with a great panel. One of the people there just gave a 5-minute warning. It was supposed to start at 1 Pacific time, 4 Eastern. It is now 4:05 Eastern, and it looks like this will start at about 4:10 Eastern time. So just in about another 5 minutes. But John, one of the other things that we are hearing is there was supposed to be, you know, a first court appearance, but Nick Reiner is not deemed mentally competent for court right now. What does that mean, you know, in English? What does that mean to all of us?
Some type of, you know, disaster, some type of crisis where everybody agreed we cannot get him into a courtroom. He's not ready. What does that mean? It means some type of complete physical and emotional breakdown. I mean, it would not be appropriate to make somebody who's in that state go into court in that condition. I mean, that's just, I think everybody would agree on both sides, prosecution, defense, and then the judiciary, because it's just, I mean, it raises questions, of course, about what it was. I mean, we can speculate, but I would think that there was some type of something manifesting itself physically, emotionally, that would mean this would be completely inappropriate to bring somebody into a courtroom setting for all the world to see at that point. I mean, that does happen sometimes. A lot of times, you know, there's some malingering involved in someone who's familiar with the system, but in something like this, so high profile, with someone who's got a history that everyone is now aware of, I guess it's not surprising that this might be an issue coming into it.
Yeah. Some people are already asking, well, how is he going to afford Alan Jackson? This is a family where not only was Rob Reiner incredibly wealthy, I hear he's got a net worth of, you know, roughly around 200 million, but the grandfather, Rob Reiner's father, Carl Reiner, also an absolute comedic legend. So there's no scarcity of money. Who knows? I don't know what happened internally with the family dynamics in terms of a will from Carl Reiner. He passed recently, but I don't think coming up with money, Alan Jackson type money for criminal defense is going to be a problem for any member of the Reiner family, even if it's for a member who's accused of these absolutely horrific crimes. Now, I spoke to Josh Ritter very briefly. He's coming on at 7:00, but he believes part of this press conference, John Day, will be regarding a special circumstance in this double homicide, meaning potentially a death penalty case. He doesn't think the death penalty will be sought here, but in California, generally, a lot of lifers even get parole. You know, it's life with the possibility of parole, but here there might be no possibility of parole. What are your thoughts on this possibility of a special circumstance for these double homicides?
Yeah, I mean, you know, at this point we don't know enough, but I think that's certainly plausible. We just don't have enough information to know where they're going. But at the same time, you know, it's this is going to be the first sort of real official breakdown from the chief law officer of the county into what's going on. So this is going to be a real significant press conference, no matter what topics they cover. Interesting to see how deep they go into it. But again, it's this following after not getting a lot of information, and you got to contrast that to, you know, the Brown University shooting, where it seems like it's been another situation where public information has been mixed, to say the least. And it just highlights how, you know, people want to know, they need to know, especially in the case of Brown, where you still have apparently somebody on the loose. The public wants to know, and for safety reasons, and also because it's, you know, sadly, this particular one is captivating and tragic. And so there's going to be interest from all over the world. So this will be pretty significant, whatever Hoffman gets into, and hoping, obviously, there'll be a lot of detail to let us move it forward.
Sherry, I'm not talking about Nick here. I was talking in generalities, that a special circumstance, typically, if you are convicted in California,
but less than 2 minutes. We're coming out right now, so
you can get parole. What I was saying in this case, if convicted, he might not get parole. If I wasn't clear about that, I apologize. But everyone is presumed innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. Looks like members of the LA District Attorney's Office are
So this is
coming out here.
going to be an update on the homicide investigation of Rob
Okay.
Reiner and Michele Reiner. You're going to hear from the Chief of Police, Jim McDonald from the Los Angeles Police Department, and the District Attorney, Nathan Hochman. Just want to level expectations. We will allow some time for questions, but because of this is a preliminary investigation still, very active. It's being filed as we speak. There's not a lot we're going to be able to say right now. Also, if you would, please quote one question at a time so that we can hear the question and answer it appropriately. So if we could have that decorum in here. DA Nathan Hochman.
And Carl Reiner passed in 2020, from what I understand. I thought it was.
My name is
before.
Nathan Hochman. I'm the District Attorney of Los Angeles County. Today, I'm here to announce that our office will be filing charges against Nick Reiner, who is accused of killing his parents, actor-director Rob Reiner, and photographer-producer Michele Reiner. These charges will be 2 counts of first-degree murder with a special circumstance of multiple murders. He also faces a special allegation that he personally used a dangerous and deadly weapon, that being a knife. These charges carry a maximum sentence of life in prison without the possibility of parole or the death penalty. No decision at this point has been made with respect to the death penalty. We have requested, and currently Nick Reiner is being held without bail. Now, in announcing these charges, I also want to announce that they're just that. They are charges. Charges are not evidence. Evidence is something that we will be presenting in a court of law to meet the standard of proof we meet in every criminal case, which is beyond a reasonable doubt, to 12 jurors who you'll unanimously have to find that we've met that standard to prove the charges we bring to court. Right now, with respect to the process, once the charges get filed this afternoon, Nick Reiner will be then brought to court. He is going through medical clearance, something that everybody who gets arrested and gets held in a Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department jail goes through. Once he is medically cleared, he will be brought to court to be arraigned on these charges. At that point, he will enter a plea of guilty or not guilty. Now, prosecuting these cases involving family members are some of the most challenging and most heart-wrenching cases that this office faces because of the intimate and often brutal nature of the crimes involved. Rob Reiner was a brilliant actor and director, an iconic force in our entertainment industry for decades. His wife, Michele Reiner, was an equally iconic photographer and producer. Their loss is beyond tragic, and we will commit ourselves to bringing their murderer to justice. I want to thank LAPD Chief McDonald, who is here today, along with Deputy Chief Alan Hamilton from the LAPD and LAPD Captain Scott Williams and the entire robbery homicide division, who literally has been working around the clock to gather the evidence that have led to the charges we're going to be filing today. Also from my office, I have Assistant District Attorney Maria Ramirez. I have Director of Specialized Prosecutions, John McKinney. I have our Head Deputy of Major Crimes, Craig Hum. And I have the 2 prosecutors who will be leading the prosecution in this case, Assistant Head Deputy of Major Crimes, Habib Balian, and Deputy District Attorney for Major Crimes, Jonathan Chung. They will bring their decades of experience to holding this murderer accountable for his actions. At this point, again, you will hear in the media rumors, you will hear speculation, you will hear hearsay. What I'm asking everyone to do is to rely on trusted sources. If it doesn't come from the District Attorney's Office, from LAPD, from the coroner's office, or from the courtroom itself, then there's a good chance you are hearing misinformation. because at the appropriate time, the actual evidence involved in this case will be presented in a court of law. So I ask for your patience until that is done. But again, please do not rely on rank speculation, rumor, or hearsay to believe that you understand anything about what went on in this case. I'd now like to turn it over to Chief McDonald.
Thank you. Well, good afternoon, and thank you all for being here today. And it's with deep sadness that I address the tragic loss of Robert and Michele Reiner. On December 14th, 2025, LAPD officers from our West Los Angeles division responded to a death investigation at the 200 block of South Chadbourne Avenue, which is in the Brentwood section of Los Angeles. Upon entering the residence, they discovered the bodies of Mr. and Mrs. Reiner. Detectives from our Robbery Homicide Division Homicide Special Section immediately initiated a comprehensive investigation. The evidence gathered led to the arrest of their son, Nick Reiner, who was taken into custody later that night without incident in the Exposition Park section of our city. Today, the Los Angeles County District Attorney's Office has formally filed charges against Mr. Reiner for the murder of his parents. This case is heartbreaking and deeply personal, not only for the Reiner family and their loved ones, but for our entire city. We extend our deepest condolences to all of those who were affected by this tragedy. I want to take a moment to recognize and thank our criminal justice partners, the District Attorney's Office led by DA Hochman, and everyone who worked tirelessly on this investigation. Their swift action, professionalism, and commitment to justice have been instrumental in bringing clarity and accountability to this case. The LAPD remains steadfast in our mission to protect life and uphold justice. We will continue to support the Reiner family and ensure that every step forward is taken with care, dignity, and resolve. Thank you.
We'll now take some questions. Yes, right here in the front.
Could you talk about why you feel this case rises to special circumstances?
So special circumstances is a situation where one of the enumerated factors that lead to elevating in some ways a first-degree murder case to a special circumstance first-degree murder case occurs. One of those special circumstances is called multiple murders. Here we have two, and it qualifies under the definition of multiple murders to allege the special circumstance in this particular case.
Chief,
I saw
how
over
was
here.
Nick Reiner found, and was there any evidence on him indicating a crime, and did he say anything?
Yeah, he was found with good, solid police work, investigative tools used by Robbery Homicide and Gang and Narcotic Division detectives with the U.S. Marshal Service Task Force involved as well. So we're thankful for the work that was done. I won't go into talking about what was found or anything that could potentially taint the investigation.
Chief, one quick follow-up question,
Yeah.
sir. Given Nick's history of drug use, was there any indication that he was under the influence at the time of his crime?
No, thank you again. That's another question I can't touch.
And following up on that, is there any evidence of mental illness in his background?
Yeah, you can touch.
I'm sorry, please repeat the question.
Is there any evidence of mental illness in his background beyond the addiction?
The evidence, any evidence, if there is any, of mental illness for his background will be coming out in the hearings that will occur. We anticipate, again, after the arraignment, the process will go through the normal process a case like this goes through. At the appropriate time, if there is evidence of mental illness, it will be presented in court and in whatever detail the defense seeks to do that. Yes, right here.
Are you anticipating any kind of significant delay in bringing this case to trial on the basis perhaps that they have to undergo significant psychological evaluation, which would also give your people what they need in order to what might describe why his actions happened?
We don't anticipate any significant delay more than is involved in a first-degree murder case with special circumstances. These are some of the most serious charges that a DA's office can bring against anyone. And we anticipate that the discovery that we will produce to the defense will be robust. It will be very involved. They'll want adequate time to review it. They'll want to go through every single factor that they can ascertain in the defense of Mr. Nick Reiner. So again, this will proceed along the tracks that many of the first-degree murder cases proceed. Do I anticipate it being particularly fast? No, I anticipate it being very thorough. Yes, right here. We are not at this time. Yes. Yes, right here.
Did the members of the Reiner family help with your investigation so far, and did they provide any information or assistance which led to Nick being arrested?
Let me defer to the chief on this.
Hi, I'm Deputy Chief Alan Hamilton, Chief of Detectives. We don't have any specific information we're going to release at this time regarding the family's information they provided. As we move forward, that information will be discussed in the appropriate venue, which will be the court.
Yes, in the front here.
Sorry for the chief. Can you talk anything more about just not the condition that Nick was when he was arrested? Was he a resident? Was he walking around? Was he observed by people in the neighborhood? Like anything else you can tell us about?
So specifically, he was arrested in a public area in the Exposition Park area near the University of Southern California campus. He was approached by the officers and he was arrested without incident. There were no indications that there was no indication that he was going to resist or anything like that. He didn't flee or anything like that. He was taken into custody without issue, and he was transported to our police headquarters facility.
Take a question back there. Yes. He has been alleged, one of these special allegations is that the murder was committed with a deadly weapon or a knife. As to where and how the weapon was located or will be located, that will actually be evidence we'll present in court.
We got two more questions. Two more questions.
Let me take a question over here. I'll defer to the chief on this one.
Yeah, I'm sorry, we don't have that kind of specificity yet. We're waiting the coroner to be able to try and determine as best they can at this point, time of death.
Chief, where were the victims found? Can you say where the victims were found?
We'll take the question back there. Chief, if you
we
know.
got a radio call from fire department.
Okay, so in terms of how the Los Angeles Police Department became aware, it was a request from the Los Angeles Fire Department, who responded to the scene first. We responded to their request for assistance at the scene of the incident. Our initial West LA officers that responded determined that a crime had occurred, and they immediately notified our robbery homicide division. They responded, and they have taken over the investigation since that point.
Thank you, everybody.
We'll take one more question. I'll take it right here.
I know you're hesitant to talk about sensitive evidence, but based on the evidence collected to support these charges, did that include an admission by the defendant to the alleged crime?
So any statements made by the defendant at any point in time would be the type of evidence we will be presenting in court. I'll take one last question right here.
Sorry, I have a question.
Hold on one second. I just identified this gentleman.
Oh, I thought you were putting it in.
Sorry.
Do you have an estimated time of completion of the autopsy, the information coming from the medical examiner to your office and to the detectives?
We do not have the estimated time that it will take. We know that they are working on it expeditiously, but as to when they deliver it, we do not have that estimated time. I'll take that one last question back there.
I was just wondering, I know these types of cases are especially difficult. How much do you take into account what the family wants when it comes to charges when you're dealing with a domestic situation like that? And does that factor into whether you will go after life and parole or possibly death penalty?
In these cases, like any of these cases, we will take the thoughts and desires of the family into consideration in making our decision. Thank you all very much.
How is the arraignment with celebrities? Is the crime scene, is affecting the evidence?
All right, there's a live look at the press conference. Just finishing. The headline here is that he will be charged with first-degree murder, Nick Reiner will, with special circumstances in the murder of his parents, Rob and Michele Singer Reiner. We heard from both the LA prosecutor and the chief of police, as well as the chief of detectives, who kind of ducked his head in there. I just want to say before we get cracking here and break this down that I'm really thinking, and I think we all should be, of Romy Reiner and Jake Reiner. They're the siblings of Nick Reiner. This is hell on earth. This is something these two will likely never recover from. They are human beings just like you. Just because this is happening in Hollywood and just because these are celebrities doesn't mean that these people aren't real people with real feelings. And Romy Reiner has to be just destroyed, as does Jake Reiner. And I know in having read some reporting that they struggled in their relationship with Nick, but I think the whole family loved Nick. So this is just an absolute tragedy all the way around. And then there's Tracy Reiner, I think. Thank you to Mrs. Ed as well. So, but to the headline here, John Day, the LA District Attorney, is going to now charge Nick Reiner first-degree murder with special circumstances. And he said the death penalty is not off the table. What do you read into that?
Yeah, I mean, he had to say that. You have to think that in a situation like this, there were siblings, the surviving two siblings. I mean, this horrific situation. I mean, is that something that they even want to contemplate now? I mean, the DA has to say this. He has to address it at this level. But you have to think this is not going to be a death case, especially given the history of the defendant now and his relation to the two surviving siblings. But not unexpected as far as the special circumstances, multiple killings, 2 murders, deadly weapon used. But again, you're right. Just thinking about the 2 remaining children and their lives and what they've got, what they have to be, what their day has to be like today, especially seeing their brother charged with the murder of the parents. It's just incredibly heartbreaking.
Yeah, and I believe there is a half sibling as well. So I apologize. Don't know the entire dynamic of the family, but I believe that there is a half sister. Now, in terms of the death penalty, let's say, and it's unlikely from people I've talked to, but John Day, is there a say from the family here? In other words, could Jake and Romy Reiner go to the prosecutor and say, we don't want the death penalty, or conversely, we do want the death penalty?
Sure. I mean, and of course, I think we all know that's very likely that they're going to do that in this horrific situation. You know, DAs are supposed to take into account the feelings and the wishes of a victim's family in a situation like this. And I think obviously they will, but it would be hard to imagine these siblings saying that they want that to be on the table. I think it would be very unlikely. And I got to say, I mean, as tragic as it is, I've represented a number of families in the situation, families that are whether well known or they have, a particular place, and it doesn't matter whether or not you are or not. It crosses all those boundaries. But I've seen families with a family member who is struggling with things like mental illness, alcohol, drugs, substance abuse, and the entire family can be incredibly supportive. They can get them access to the best care, the best treatment centers. I mean, I've had clients who've been in 24, 25, 26 different treatment centers, and they've got their family behind them. And, it's frustrating because you can feel like you've got all the resources in the world and it's not making a difference. And you can imagine then the families that don't have those resources, what their situations are like. So, I mean, I've been there representing people in similar situations, and it's just heartbreaking because it tears these families apart. And I think in the Reiner situation, it looks like they tried everything. I mean, they had unlimited access to the best care in the world, and sometimes it doesn't work.
So Tracy Reiner is Penny Marshall from Laverne and Shirley. Her daughter, who Rob Reiner apparently adopted, just don't want to leave a sibling or a half sibling out. This is Nick Reiner. The direct siblings to him are Jake and Romy Reiner. The bottom line is, whether it's them or cousins or aunts or uncles, everyone in this family is reeling. I'm sure they're feeling destroyed inside. I'm sure they're feeling like they can't wait to see another day, but they will, and they'll get through it. And it's brutal. You're looking at pictures here of the arrest of Nick Reiner. We found out a little bit about that, but John Day, let me go through some of the things that Nathan Hochman said. It was a pretty short press conference, not more than 15, 20 minutes, and that was with questions. And you could tell the chief of police, the chief of detectives, and Nathan Hochman, the DA, they don't want to compromise the integrity of the investigation. So they were basically in and out with a massive media presence there. And I think it's going to probably grow from here, if anything. This is a mega story for the reasons we talked about earlier. Now, Nathan Hochman, John, said things that a DA has got to say. He said, look, these are charges. No decision on the death penalty, but charges are just charges. Charges are not evidence. He did say, John, which is interesting, that he's being held without bail. Initially, it was reported he was being held at a $4 million bail, and then that was revoked to no bail. Is that somewhat common or not common at all?
I mean, I think in this kind of a case, it's not surprising. You have to imagine, theoretically, someone in the defendant's position does have access to funds. If you're the prosecutor, you argue that you don't want there to be a risk of flight. Is this someone who can use those funds, those assets, and theoretically take off? So I think it's just everyone being cautious. Not surprising that there's no bail after the initial claim that there would be. So that part doesn't surprise me at all.
Yeah, you see here, and this is why I think this story is so relatable, and why, on top of the fact that there's celebrity, on top of the fact that happens a block away from her, the O.J. Simpson murders happened in the middle of Los Angeles. On top of all those factors, Elizabeth Miller here, I'm a recovering addict. I went to rehab probably as many times as Nick Reiner did. I didn't get better until I was ready, which is often what you hear, and it appears that Nick Reiner wasn't ready, and this is now the horrific result. But thanks for sharing that, Elizabeth. I think everyone, I was saying this yesterday, it's kind of like cancer. Everyone knows someone, sadly, who is afflicted by cancer, and probably a little less, but still, most people know someone who was addicted to drugs or is or was suffering through mental illness. We don't know that to be the case necessarily with Nick. There's no confirmation that, he has a history of mental illness, but we know, and I've read that he was at rehab, paid for by Rob Reiner, his father, somewhere between 17 and 19 times. So that's a long history of drug abuse, and it goes back to his teen years. And when this crime was committed, he was 32 years old. You see DA Nathan Hochman. He is a relatively new district attorney in Los Angeles, and he's a hard on crime DA. And a lot of people in LA are welcoming that, and some not so much. But he went on essentially to talk also about the mental health factor here, John, saying that he will go to court, but that everyone who goes to court must be cleared medically, and that hasn't happened yet. Do you think this is part of the – now, is that DA speak for he just hasn't had his first court hearing yet, John, or do you think there is an issue here, or a factor, a variable where he's just not well enough yet for this first appearance?
Yeah, well, that issue has come up when we thought there was going to be an appearance and there wasn't. But also, it is true that he's got to get cleared before, through the jail system. I mean, that's standard. That's not anything unusual in this case. But in this particular case, it might be a heightened scrutiny because, of the circumstances, and his history is going to be something that whoever's doing the clearance stuff is going to be looking at. It's not just, if he's got a number of different admissions to hospitals or treatment centers, if that's the case, we hear that it was, but all that's going to come up, and all that's going to be part of the medical evaluation. But again, if there was something, extreme, like an inability to stand up or an inability to talk or something like that, that's going to be taken into consideration before anyone makes any appearances in court.
Yeah. By the way, we are a dog-friendly show. That is John. I think that's John Day's dog, not our dog.
Yeah, that's the dog. Sorry about that.
It's all good. You see here again why I think this is captivating the attention of the world right now. Our daughter did not make it. Sorry to hear that, Racer Girl. She died at the age of 23 in 2018. She went to several rehabs programs. Finances make no difference, in my opinion. It's up to the individual. This drug addiction is not a crime of a specific socioeconomic level. It affects everyone across all, races, creeds, colors, finances. It does not discriminate. And sadly, it goes from the poorest to the richest and even to celebrities. And you see the result right now. Here's another comment. My son fell into addiction at age 42. It destroyed our family and it broke me. He's well now at 48, managed all by himself to get better, but it is a process. Yeah, that's fascinating and sad that it happened, but I'm glad that he at that age, but I'm glad he turned it around. Yeah, so we don't know exactly what's going on. There's a lot of people speculating that Nick Reiner had some sort of mental illness. I don't know. You heard, and in caution, DA Nathan Hochman cautioned everyone at the beginning to just get their information basically from the police department or from the DA's office. Otherwise, it would be speculation. But I have not heard of anything, specifically about mental illness. I have heard about the drug addiction issues. So that is still really devastating. Nathan Hochman went on to describe Rob Reiner as a brilliant actor and a director and a producer, and his wife, Michele Singer Reiner, as an equally iconic photographer and producer. But I think it is fair to say that a lot more people knew or know of Rob Reiner than his wife, Michele. Not to say that she's not incredibly talented and did not, and that she achieved a lot in her career, because I know that she did. Thank you for this. Recently became a member. Thank you for joining. Appreciate it. He did talk about how difficult this is, John Day, in terms of prosecuting family on family crime. Here, the son murdering the parents. Can you talk about that? I mean, what are the complications that come in when a family member is responsible for the murder of the parents?
Yeah, well, you've seen it played out already in terms of talking about the other family members, the surviving family members, what they want, how they're processing this. I mean, it's you can only imagine what they're having to go through right now. But so it's just this intimate, horrific crime where you've got victims, three surviving victims, I guess the siblings, the children, and they are now facing, the terrible situation of their, other sibling sitting in a jail cell faced with the double murder of the parents. So prosecutors take that into account. Prosecutors are going to, especially in LA, they're going to be super attentive to what they need. Doubtful that you'll hear much from the children, I think, as this goes on, except, requests for privacy and requests for the ability to process this. I mean, it just kind of defies understanding. And especially the poor daughter who apparently found the bodies. I mean, it just, that's heartbreaking. So, the DAs have a lot of victim advocate. They have a lot of people who are specially trained to deal with victim families. And in this case, they're going to be working really, really hard to keep the victim's family, the children, informed about what's going on, ask them what their wishes are. But at the same time, what's going through their minds about their surviving, their brother. And, they've had a long history of dealing with Nick. I mean, he was part of a film that he made with his dad, a feature film that was pretty autobiographical, and it contained a lot of information apparently about addiction and addiction problems. And there's so many people who are addicted have these dual diagnoses. They're dealing with not just the flat out substance abuse, but there's so much going on. Whether that's happening here, who knows? But it's very common. So, man, these poor kids, the poor they're not kids, but the poor children, the poor survivors having to deal with this. It's just hard to picture, hard to imagine.
Yeah, it is incredibly hard to imagine. Chief Jim McDonnell, the LAPD police chief, he said, he got up there. He said he's reporting this with deep sadness. He basically did not offer a lot of new information, but said that the West Los Angeles Police Division responded to the 200 block of Chadbourne Avenue. It's notable because 1 block away is Rockingham, where the OJ murders happened, and Phantom 6000, who's a friend of the show and a friend of mine, also told me that Nathan Hochman happens to live right there as well. So you've got the district attorney who lives in that neighborhood. The O.J. Simpson murders. It's obviously a neighborhood that has a lot of prominent people, including a lot of celebrities. Beautiful part of Los Angeles, and another reason why I think people are going to be really intrigued and want to watch this unfold as it does. So he talked also about Nick being taken into custody in what is known as the Exposition Park section of LA. That's near USC. John Day, this is kind of important. Apparently, this crime is committed on a Sunday afternoon, and about 6 hours pass before they finally make the arrest. And they find that, I guess, he checked into a hotel and put sheets up in the windows. From an investigative standpoint, both as police, as a prosecutor, you as a criminal defense attorney, how important is it to piece together those 6 or 7 or 8 hours, whatever it was, where Nick Reiner leaves the home after the double homicide and then is basically out and about at this motel and elsewhere before he's arrested for this
Right. Well,
crime?
they'll want to know, investigators were going to want to defense to everything that took place, and certainly how he was tracked. Is this another cell phone type deal? Is this another situation where family members had some idea that there was a pattern here? So we don't know that. But yeah, they're going to be retracing the steps. They're going to be trying to figure out where he was. Yeah, again, the same thing we're seeing in the Brown shooting case: video, eyewitnesses, cell tower triangulation, things like that are, cell tower calls being pinged. And that's going to be important, but also everything leading up to it. Apparently, there was this claim that there was the holiday party and there was a big argument, and who were the witnesses to that and what happened after that. And so they're going to want to rebuild a timeline, a chronology of everything that happened in the days leading up to it, and then the hours leading up to his arrest.
Here's Phantom 6000, by the way, who I was just talking about. Let's bring up his post. FYI, this case is incredibly personal to Nathan for a number of reasons. He has a family member who suffered from addiction. So there you go. Little inside scoop from Phantom 6000. Listen, this is very prevalent, not just in LA, everywhere around the country. And look, Nathan Hochman is the top law enforcement official in the county of Los Angeles, and you're hearing that his own family, is dealing with this or dealt with this. And again, like I said, it doesn't discriminate in any form. So I think a lot of people can relate to this, and it's sad, but the reality of it. So thanks for sharing that, Phantom 6000. And LA, it's a big place, but also at the same time, a tight-knit community, especially in this world, I think, where you heard there was that party Saturday night. And speaking of that, now from what I am hearing, the family's pushing back a little bit, John Day, and we're going to do some more reporting on that tonight. But the family's pushing back a little bit about this big fight at Conan O'Brien's Christmas party. There's some other reporting that Nick was fighting with someone else at the party. The family's saying there wasn't really a fight at all. But from an investigative standpoint, John Day, particularly, I'm talking now law enforcement, I assume they're going to have to speak to people who were at this party to find out what was going on and what was said, if any threats were made.
Yeah, that's going to be something they're obviously working on. The DA said, look, don't trust any sources unless it comes from us. There have been lots of stories put out there about, was there a party? Was there a fight? Was there an argument? Just don't know enough at this point, but it'll all come out eventually.
Looking at some of the comments here. So the questions. The first question had to do with the special circumstances and elevating it to this first-degree murder charge with special circumstances. John Day, one of the special circumstances is something legally known as multiple murders. Now, he said something that I didn't understand, which was he made multiple murders. He put it into the plural, like 2 counts of multiple murders, I think is something along the lines of what he said, which I don't understand because there were just 2 murders. So what is this special circumstance with multiple murders mean, again, in not in legalese, but in English?
Right. And that's what I was trying to piece together. I think it simply just means at the same time, there were 2 murders committed, and that's simply what makes it a special circumstance. It's not anything greater than that. So,
Mm. By the way, John Day's dog is loving this story. He's all over it.
I'm going to dog here in a minute. So.
Good boy. Let's see here. So, the police chief was asked a question about tracking down Nick Reiner, and he said it was just done with good old fashioned gumshoe police work, that the drug and gang unit of the LAPD was involved, and the U.S. Marshals hopped in to help. And obviously, he was tracked down near this hotel, near the campus of USC. He did not say if any weapon or if drugs were found on his person. And then the question came up, John Day, and I'll let you go in a second, but the question came up back to Nathan Hochman about mental illness. And what his answer was is that answer will eventually come out, but he didn't answer it. How come?
Well, this is this is the Jackson's job now as defense counsel. It's that if the DA raises the issue, but Jackson has his hands full putting together a defense that's I think it's pretty clear it's going to incorporate not just the addiction situation, but is there a history? And we don't know yet for sure, but what is the history? Does it involve mental illness? Does it involve something that suddenly is going to play a role in how Jackson defends this? It's something that the DA's office is anticipating. So they're going to be doing an incredibly deep dive into the defendant's life, into his history, into his relationship with his family. Have there been hospitalizations? Has there been treatment? Has there been medication? This is all something that the defense team now is going to be digging into because it's what they have. It's the only thing that they're probably going to have, unless there's, some other question about being able to establish that this defendant actually committed the murders. So they've got to hang an entire defense on mental health, on substance abuse. And, it's not going to be an easy defense, but there was a question from a viewer about, I wouldn't be surprised if Jackson volunteered to do this case
Pro bono.
Pro bono. That would not surprise me at all. So,
well, John, let me hop in here from Willow Armadillo. I believe Nick is entitled to defense. Everyone in this country is. That's what makes America, America, I think. But it seems like Nick is guilty. And we have, that's a slippery slope. We have to be careful, and you're presumed innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. But yeah, at this moment, I would say that this is a fairly accurate statement. It seems like Nick is guilty. So how does a defense attorney like Alan Jackson take on this case? What does he do right out of the chute here?
Well, look, this is a guy who's coming off the big win in Karen Reed in Massachusetts. He knows what he's doing. He knows what he has to put together to kind of turn this giant ocean liner of a prosecution around. And that's very, very hard. You've got the momentum of the media attention of the nation, of the world. You've got the family situation. So Jackson, incredibly competent, obviously, and incredibly successful. And again, I would not be surprised if he stepped in and said, I'm doing this pro bono. I can help. And so he's got to, it's basically recreating this defendant's life from birth up to age, I think it was 32. Mm-hmm. What's happened to him? Where was he? What are his doctors telling him if he had them? What are the things that affected his mind and leading up to this point? So this is not just, the prosecution on the one hand has this job of putting the case together, and the defense has the almost insurmountable job of trying to, as I said, turn around an ocean liner in mid-ocean with all the momentum that's been gathered. So if anyone can do it, I would think Jackson's got the chops after coming after these other cases he's had. So that's from a technical standpoint. As a lawyer who's both prosecuted and been a defense lawyer, I'm going to be fascinated to watch how he puts this together, what he does, what the defense looks like. But he's got his work cut out for him.
Yeah, now he's got this client who I believe ran over, killed 4 people, I believe it was. I don't know all the details. I think by Pepperdine University, and he's handling that case as well. So he's got a full plate for sure. Thank you to Racer Girl gifting 10 surviving the survivor memberships. But with that, I think it was I you know what, I didn't want to comment on it because I don't know enough about the case, but he was essentially at one point arguing against calling it murder. And I don't think he won that hearing. He was arguing that at a hearing. But it's curious. It's going to be curious to see here. I'm just thinking we don't know the circumstances, and I really don't want to speculate. However, just imagine for a minute if Nick Reiner was in some sort of drug-induced psychosis, and then eventually, and I want to be really clear. I'm not condoning this. I'm not saying it's okay or trying to, give him a soft landing in any way. But let's just say for a minute that he was in a drug-induced psychosis. Imagine just coming out of that, John Day, just coming out of that haze and then realizing what you did.
Yeah.
I mean, I think I would think that he loves his parents and that he's probably just, cannot believe himself what happened here, John.
Well, yeah, again, we don't know enough about his state of mind, what was leading up to this, and what well, we will. I mean, there will be information brought out. But this raises a kind of a question. We talked about it before, but when people say, and obviously this is a tough to defend this case, it's horrific in a lot of ways. People say to defense lawyers, how can you defend, X? How can you defend someone who's committed such a horrible crime? How can you defend Nick Reiner, who's, charged with slitting the throats of the people who brought him into the world? And I kind of remember remember Edward Bennett Williams, the great criminal defense lawyer, used to own the Washington football team. He was kind of a legendary defense lawyer. And he once said something in his biography. He said, look, and it's not a perfect analogy, but he said, a defense lawyer is like a doctor. When you go to the doctor doesn't say, I'm not going to treat you because you're a horrible person. I'm not going to, take care of you medically because I don't like the life you've led. And he said, there's some parallel between doing defense work and being a physician, because you take an oath to do the best you can with the person who presents to you as a patient. The parallel would be, if you choose to be a defense lawyer, you're doing the best you can to represent some really horrible people, but the system is designed that way. The system is, sometimes the worst possible people need the best possible defense if the system's going to work. So just kind of want to keep that in mind, because this is a horrific crime. It's a horrific murder. People's hearts are broken, but this defendant deserves, in a case like this, he really deserves the best defense, so we can make sure we know that justice was done at the end of the day, no matter what the outcome.
Yeah. By the way, there are a lot of new people here, new to STS. It is Surviving the Survivor. It's called that because my mother is a childhood Holocaust survivor. She hosts with me on Fridays. She also likes to bust my you-know-what, so I'm always trying to survive the survivor, and it fits with true crime. We didn't start with true crime, but we're there now, and we do it 5 days a week, Monday through Thursday, 7 p.m. Eastern. On typical news days, we're doing a live panel show. We cover trials, we cover big hearings, press conferences like we just did, and we've got the best guests in true crime and a better community, got the best YouTubers in all the world. So appreciate you guys being here. Please please subscribe. You can follow us on Patreon too, which really helps us in terms of churning out the content day in and day out. And thank you here. You see right here why I say better community. Allie Foley gifting 5 Surviving the Survivor memberships. We appreciate that very much. So a few more things to cover, John Day, if you can bear with me for 2, 3, 4, 5 more minutes. But Nathan Hochman, the DA in LA, was also asked if he anticipates significant delays, and he said, we don't anticipate any significant delays any more than a first-degree murder charge with special circumstances. But John Day, those charges don't come that frequently. It's not every day that the LA DA is holding a press conference like this. The last one I can remember, just off the top of my head, was the Menendez brothers. But this is a big deal. Do you expect this case to garner the type of attention we are seeing right now, and for that to potentially even increase?
Yeah, definitely. Again, it's not a whodunit at this point, right? I mean, they've got their suspect. They're not looking for someone. But I think you're going to have to see this is going to continue, the media interest. Understandably, it's a big deal, and you can understand why everyone wants to know what's going on.
Yeah. It says here, Rob Reiner was Tracy's father legally for 59 years. So it's a long time to be a parent. And again, this is why Tracy, who's Penny Marshall's daughter, from what I understand, has got to be just absolutely devastated. Romy, much younger. Jake, much younger. The kids are absolutely, I'm sure, in turmoil right now, just trying to figure out how to survive, let alone how to deal with the media crush, let alone, I don't know what's going on with the family residence, if they can get back in there. It is a lot for anybody to deal with. John Day, I know that the dog is eager to get out. Final question for you, and then I'll let you go. A lot of people don't think this is ever going to get to trial. I don't know if that dynamic changes now with Alan Jackson in the picture, but do you expect some sort of plea here? I can't see. Alan Jackson doesn't strike me as a plea-y kind of attorney, but at this point, this guy, Nick Reiner, has his back up against the proverbial wall. What do you foresee in terms of a potential deal being worked out?
Don't know yet. I can imagine, surprise if this gets to trial, but this kind of a case, too early to predict.
All right. John Day, you're the man. And trust me, most of the women think you're the man because I'm seeing all the comments in chat. We'll call on you. We're going to be doing this the rest of the week, and we'll get you back on a panel, hopefully next couple of days. But thanks for being here, and give your dog a little scratch on the chinny chin chin. John Day, they want to see the dog. Everyone's begging to see the dog. Let's see. He's going to go get the dog. So there you heard it. It was DA Nathan Hochman and the chief of police for the LAPD, Jim McDonald. Thank you so much for this during some upside down times right now. I appreciate this. Happy Hanukkah, Joel and Mama Carm. And again, appreciate that very much. Here comes the pup. Let's see here. John Day's unmuting. Now he will be silent. Or she. It's Sasha. So I think it's a beautiful woman. Hold on, John Day. Let me see if I can look, he's I can't unmute you, John. You've got to unmute it.
It's a Shy Doberman, 100-pound, kind of loud. Sorry about that, but
no, why won't she come in now? Oh, here we go.
Oh, it's food,
Oh,
so all right.
That's Sasha. All right, have fun. See you
Thanks.
later.
Sorry about that, but
No worries. All right, that's John Day. He's a cool dude. He's got a little Harrison Ford in him. Yeah, and I don't know what just happened to my notes, but they just washed away. Here we go. Press conf. No, that's not it. But anyway, the bottom line in this press conference. Here we go. I found him. The press conference. Nathan Hochman, the chief law enforcement officer for the Los Angeles Police Department, coming out and saying that first-degree murder with special circumstance charges are going to be filed against Nick Reiner. That's a technicality. They haven't quite been filed yet, but they will. There will be an arraignment, a first appearance in court. But right now, Nick Reiner is not medically cleared for court. And he says that is the case with every defendant. They've got to be medically cleared. So we don't know how long that's going to be. Meanwhile, the LAPD is obviously working on this on the investigative side. And now, not only is the prosecutor working on the investigation as well in concert with the LAPD, but throw into the mix that Alan Jackson. Yes, that Alan Jackson. He is now apparently been retained to be the criminal defense attorney for Nick Reiner. A lot of people who I talked to yesterday said, well, there's going to be a plea deal here. But now with Alan Jackson, I'm not so sure because the guy is a pit bull. He fights for his clients. You got Karen Reed off. He's working. Forgive me. I can't think of the guy's name. The person right now in Los Angeles accused of killing 4 people while driving at an extremely high rate of speed. He is arguing that case and defending that client. He's got a full plate, and but I can't see Alan Jackson playing out, but who knows? Tonight at 7 p.m. Eastern time, we are being joined by a retired lieutenant in the LAPD who knows exactly what is going on and how it's going on. And he will join us at 7 along, I believe, with Josh Ritter. But Josh Ritter called me during this podcast. I'm going to call him back right now and see if he's still available. And then we are also working to get Dr. Detective Troy Looney from to give you another investigative angle. Please come back tonight, 7 p.m. Eastern time, 4 p.m. Pacific time. This is Nick Reiner. This is Nick Reiner right here. He's the man charged with first-degree murder, or about to be charged with first-degree murder, and the murder of his parents, Rob and Michele Reiner. Any which way you slice it, this is an absolute horrific tragedy, a family tragedy, a tragedy for the country, because we lost two great artists here, a photographer, a producer, a director, an actor, and nobody wins in this case. And our thoughts and our prayers go out to the Reiner family, because this has got to be absolutely brutal. We will see you in exactly 2 hours. Love you, America.